Check, check, testing. Test, test. All right, all right. Hotep to any and all who was tuned in. Will it let me pin the link? It won't let me pin the link. Testing. Think I could be heard? Hotep, Hotep, Hotep. So, if I can be heard, if I'm live, let me make sure. Testing. Yes, indeed. I am definitely loud and clear. So, Hotep, to anyone who may tune in, there's other live streams going on right now on YouTube. YouTube streets are on and popping, and I just decided to go live just because. But I posted the link to come in on this chat session or panel or what have you, to just open it up to talk about any topic. BYOT, bring your own topic. Open discussion, bring your own topic. Just to have like a little change from the topics that are going on right now. You know, I don't know, we all, deal with things differently, but I tune in or I pull up YouTube and then I see, videos that are most recent videos, live videos, people who are live, looking at the topics, click, and, there's a lot of stuff. It's crazy. For years, I've been saying that, what we have traditionally called the conscious community. I always say, if anybody knows me, I always say so-called conscious community, because I never at any point in time agreed with the naming of the conscious community being the conscious community. And I'm a stickler for names. I don't deal well with misnomers. I always talk about misnomers, things that are mislabeled. And for those who may not know what a misnomer is, the famous example is driveway and parkway. Both the terms driveway and parkway are two misnomers, very popular misnomers, because you actually drive on a parkway and you actually park in a driveway. So it's like the opposite of what it's called, driveway. You pull your car, you park your car in a driveway, but they call it a driveway. And then you drive on a parkway. That's crazy to me. And so that's a very famous and classic misnomer. And so the conscious community is not conscious. It's not the conscious community. No more than a driveway is a driveway. It's a parkway. A driveway is a parkway is a driveway. Conscious community is really the unconscious community. There you have it. It's very simple. But so for years, I've been trying to describe it. It ends up being, it's purely entertainment. What we're calling the conscious community, what we're calling, all of the conscious community and all of the plugs, all of the platforms that anchor into what we're calling the conscious community. And to me, I describe it as a circus. Unapologetically. I've been saying the same thing for years, And I've actually even looked on my Facebook account in old posts that I did, all going all the way back to 2015, 2014, where that's how I described it. It's a circus going on because it's wild, and by circus, I mean, it's just all over the place. It's wild. It's just entertainment. It's a lot of things going on at once. It's scattered. I mean, you can look at any. When you go to a real circus, you could pretty much look in any direction and be entertained. In the circus, they have multiple things going on at the same time. Sometimes they have a main attraction or main event, but outside of that, they have all kinds of things going on at the same time. It's a Ringling, was it Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus? That's the famous one that I know about. And it travels from city to city. I don't even know if they still do that. Not sure. Anyway, though, the link is in the chat. If anybody wants to bring your own topic and have a discussion outside of what's already being discussed throughout the YouTube streets. So again, I'm just live just because. I clicked on a few recent videos, and man, I don't know what to say. What about a lot of the things people are talking about? So, rather talk about something a little bit more focused and constructive and progressive instead of what I'm hearing being talked about. It's real crazy out there right now. So click the link. If you're in the chat, see Brother Zane, Omar, Hotep. Because if you all leave it up to me in the Zoom, nobody wants to come in, then I'm going to talk. And I'm going to talk as if I'm making an archive video. All right. I'm going to ignore the chat. And I'm just going to talk to myself. But no. So anyway, one of the things that I would like to discuss is something progressive and something that I feel that we should bring up and have a discussion about. And that is the issue with the ownership of the household, or who's the responsible party for the household, being women. And so I would like to talk about the importance of women in relation to family. That's something that I would rather talk about and bring up, because I don't think it's talked about enough or in its right context, or discussed properly. Now, Zane said he doesn't see a link, so let me see if I could pin this link. Give me a second here. There's the link, and it's pinned up. All right, so I posted it and I pinned it. All right, so yeah, so if you wanna come on the panel in this session and bring your own topic, by all means, you're welcome to. There's the link. You click it. You don't have to have a video on. As long as you have as long as you can hear and we can hear you. But anyway, so back to a topic that I would like to discuss is the importance of women in the family, in the structure of family and a household. I've had little bits of conversation about this over time, but I don't think it's talked about properly. So this is something I would like to talk about, with a panel of people to get some feedback, get some thoughts on that. The importance of women in relationship to family structure. Now, obviously, women give birth. There would be no family without a woman. So, that's the obvious one. But beyond that, and anyway, that kind of conversation I would like to have in contrast to the the kind of recent doctrine of the black woman is God. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard that the black woman is God. Over the past few years, it's been going on for a minute now. Some people have picked up on that phrase, black woman is God, and then made it a little more popular, or been more vocal with it. But I'm sure a lot of people have heard that the black woman is God. But what does that actually mean? And is it necessary to even make that declaration that the black woman is God? Is that actually necessary? So those are kind of things. Black woman is God, or the importance of women in relationship to family structure. And then by family, then the extension of family would be community. Community structure, family structure, household structure. The importance of women. And I don't see any women. We have Sonette Emiket in the chat. I don't see any other women. So now listen, again, if you're just tuning in, I only went live because the topics, just to provide a little alternative to what's being talked about on different platforms in light of different topics, different situations people are bringing up and talking about. But drama draws a crowd. Fighting, fussing, adversarial competition, all that kind of stuff attracts. It's like that's the noise. People gonna go wherever the noise is. And here I am. I have a hashtag called "Kill the Noise" because I strongly believe that we need to kill the noise. It's a distraction. It's detrimental. It's actually holding us back. It's detrimental. Not only holding us back, but it's actually, harming any progress. It really, really is. And I can make a case for everything I'm saying. Right now, I'm just rambling on because none of you guys in the chat are clicking the link. We have Zane in the house. So Zane, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm here. And I was just thinking, like, what do you think, like, draws them to that? Like, what fun do they see in, like, the drama and competitiveness of that type of social debate? Like, I don't know.
I mean, well, we've all been groomed to be attracted to that stuff. I mean, think about it. Television and movies. At one point, there were concerns raised by different groups, different organizations about the content of television shows and movies. Protesting censorship, the censorship boards and things like that to censor violence out, certain things. People were complaining that movies have gotten too violent, too gory. The rating system, we used to have, well, it's expanded now, but the motion picture rating system, rated G, PG, rated R. Like when I grew up, it was only G, PG, R, and X.
Yeah, they kind of went out the window when I was like, when in my teens, I started to see like even kids younger than me was being introduced to rated R type of movies, you know, that like there's no real actual control with that.
Right.
Like, it was a standard, but it wasn't no control.
Yeah, well, it was like I know what you're saying. It wasn't enforced.
Yeah,
Um, it wasn't enforced too much, but at least it was a standard, and it still exists though. But it's more now. You got G, PG, PG-13, R, uh, or TMA or something like that.
yeah,
Um,
NC-17.
oh yeah, NC-17, and then X, then double X, triple X, or whatever. So it's a whole list of things now. But anyway, but my point though is that we're groomed this way. We're groomed to focus on action, focus on cars spinning out, blowing up, cars crashing, people getting chased, people getting shot, um, fighting, fight scenes in movies and things like that.
Yeah,
Those are the things we like, whether it's on television, because look at where television went. Television went from sitcoms, comedic sitcoms now, mind you, comedy or
yeah.
comedic sitcoms like The Jeffersons, Good Times, What's Happening,
That's Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son. What was it? And then there's some more recent ones, kind of sort of. Even going to Martin and all those shows, Cosby's or whatever. So those
Yeah,
are sitcoms. Um, Even those have now folded over or converted over into reality TV. Now you have Love and Hip Hop, you have Basketball Wives, you have Atlanta Housewives, Hollywood Housewives, uh, New York Housewives, whatever, Florida Housewives, Miami Housewives, all of these different shows, and on those shows, it pushes the narrative towards fussing and fighting and conflict because every show I name is conflict.
yeah, and it have less to do with family and how they solve problems.
Exactly. Exactly. So so I'm saying over time, the social pressure over time pushes us in that direction and we just go along with it. You know, we just follow, we just go wherever the wind blows. And so that's what's happening. That's the manifestation we're seeing on the YouTube streets because remember, YouTube is simply a a nowadays way for people to broadcast something,
Yeah,
anything. And so now and then the way that the technology is now and then the pricing has gone down on certain equipment, hardware and equipment, anybody can put on a decent show on YouTube. You get a good broadcaster, get a nice laptop, a microphone, a decent headset, a green screen behind you, and you're
right.
good.
Yeah,
We got Zoom, we got StreamYard, we got Wirecast, we got all these different software and things. What's the other one? The gaming one. Forgot what the gaming platform is, but yeah, Twitch.
oh yeah, Twitch.
Twitch is the gaming platform. But so everybody can pretty much broadcast whatever they want, and so it just reveals what we like, what we think is in demand, and that's what it is. So you put on a show where people are fighting, fussing, arguing, or drama, crabs in the barrel type stuff. Somebody taking a stab at stabbing somebody else in the back, or somebody betraying their friendships and stuff like that. That gets attention.
Yeah,
That gets attention.
I saw
Yep.
that.
Sutek said Twitch, OBS. OBS is the software. Twitch is the platform. You got Wirecast as software, Zoom as a platform, StreamYard platform,
Yeah, it kind of
YouTube.
comes to like a podcast area now.
Right. Right. Everybody's doing a podcast and things. So here we are. And like I said, it's detrimental. we're doing things, and this is why I see I've drawn lines, and anybody who knows me will know these are things that I say, and I don't, you have to like be around me to know I say these things all the time, but every now and then I'll say them on these shows, live streams and things. But I don't want to hear anybody blame any other socially constructed race for anything
Yeah,
in
that was
2021, because we're doing a lot of damage to our to stifle our progress ourselves. But that we're to blame someone else at this point would be really like a scapegoat, escapism, an excuse.
true.
And
Yeah,
we really need to get on ourselves and start to what do you call it, recreate or ignite excellence back into ourselves and what we do, and precision and surgical precision, intentional things for progress, without tolerating any of the fluff, any of the excuses or anything. And that's
yeah,
where I am with pretty much everything.
yeah.
So
It's like I always try to like to identify the scapegoats that the community try to use the most in their claims, because it's like when you look at it, it's not the narrative that they push is not really the reality of what they're saying. Like I noticed, like for instance, with the pandemic and everything, they'll say it's the reason for all this would be Bill Gates or the government or something like that, but they're not even explaining how that goes or even actually looking for it. They just, they just, framing just one person or this one agency as for the cause of things.
right. Well, it boils down to, for stuff like that, we have to fight through the there's a natural human inclination that's kind of metaphorized with water. It's said that water seeks the path of least resistance, and that's very true. When water travels, it travels a path by way of the least resistance. So if something gets in water's way, it'll go around, and stuff like that. Well, the mind works the same way. We want to our minds travel the path of least resistance. And so any resistance, we're not gonna like it. And we have to fight through that. We have to actually fight through that and actually lift the covers or look under the hood of things and really get to the nitty gritty and stop just blanketing and passing blame, deflecting responsibility and pointing the finger at this and that over the same old excuses decade after decade.
Yeah.
The age old excuse is the white man this
Exactly.
or the white man that. And so what we've created was a boogeyman to as a scapegoat. It's like over there in the corner, and whenever we meet adversity or a challenge, we have someone to blame. And then we do that, but we never get around the challenge. We never get through the diversity. Um, you know,
We don't even challenge that what they scapegoat. Like if they would actually direct their like concerns or whatever to whatever they can to you know have that discussion. I don't believe they would actually try to take that out. Like I don't see them actually going and asking them these questions of whether they think is might be harmful to them or what they don't actually know about what's going on in the pandemic or what the government is actually trying to issue out. I don't think they're actually trying to get to that.
nah, not as a whole. And that's just where things are. And so, at any given point, um there has to be a cutoff. Like there has to be a line that is drawn though. Like if I were to ask, like right now, if I were to ask you where where does cold stop and hot start, or vice versa, where does stop and cold starts? What would you tell me?
Uh, I know it's kind of different ways because it kind of get kind of anecdotal to the point. I see like guys for the most part, I see people out in the streets with jackets on and it be 80 degrees outside. So I mean, I don't know how it feels to them, but I would have been taking my jacket off right then and saying it's hot at 80 degrees.
Well, well, if I were to ask that question, I mean, you could only really answer for yourself, like what you
That's
consider hot and what you consider cold. So even coming from you and you only, and you not attempting to answer for anybody else but you, even in that, what you would have to do, you would have to decide. You have to make a decision and draw a line, and then give it to me. Give me the answer. So, in terms of degrees Fahrenheit, where is your line when you say something is cold or it's cold versus it's hot? So answer for yourself right now.
uh, I mean, am I explaining like what would I be explaining? Like an object or
No,
temperature?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, temperature outside.
Uh,
Like when you step outside, what temperature would you say? Oh, it's cold out here. And then what would you say? It's hot. I'm talking about that line. Where does it change? I'm talking about the exact temperature that hot becomes cold, cold becomes hot.
that'd be as soon as I get that chill, it'd be cold. But uh, yeah, I guess whatever my skin tells me. 'Cause,
See, but wait,
yeah,
let me just tell you. See, you're having a slight difficult time answering me, and there's a reason. That's why I asked, because I wanted you to experience this difficulty right here.
uh,
Because
okay.
you can't because you can't answer me straight.
Nah, I really can't because I mean I can tell you by the degrees. So and then whatever I say, that might not feel cold to you or hot to you.
No, I know, but see, I gave you a out for that. I said don't answer for me or anybody else. Answer for yourself. You
Yeah.
know. So, but see what I want to show by asking that, or just putting that question out there, is one, we don't we don't deal with questions in that way. Like we're so not used to being definitive and being more surgical and more intentional with our decisions and our answers, and our plans and stuff like that. We're so away from that something as simple as, well, it's not actually simple, but a question like that I just asked, we wrestle with it. But here's the thing about the question. When I asked you where does hot stop and cold start, or vice versa, I purposely left out warm. And so
Right.
I was expecting you to bring in warm,
Okay.
because because I mean, there's no right answer to it, but I'm saying I was expecting you to mention warm because,
I wasn't trying to.
well, because
For
here's
some
the
reason I
thing.
just wasn't. Yeah.
But here's the thing. When it comes to certain things, we can't see definitive lines. So we like to blur it. So we like to blur the lines, as we say, or we like to be in that lukewarm area with things, you know. And
Yeah.
and see, that's a natural thing. There's nothing evil or wrong about that. But it becomes a problem when we live in that space too long. So like things could be warm, or we could be in a blurry area or obscure um you know area for a moment. But when we start to pack our bags and I mean unpack our bags and live in that mode, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when it's detrimental, and that's what we're doing collectively as a whole, as a community, we're living in this lukewarm, can't decide anything, blame it on the white man, pass off responsibility and all this other stuff collectively in the
Yeah.
bigger picture, and we're not getting anywhere. We're not going to be able to um fight through um the challenges and stuff that we face and
Yeah,
make any
and
progress.
I think we over trivialize, like we know so many type of different topics without having an in depth detail of what it is.
Right. Well, well, I mean, I think a lot of people are really suffering from that Oswald Bates syndrome from
Yeah,
In Living Color. I think a lot of people will read something and then automatically, you know, claim to be a master of it, and then just start teaching, not knowing how to teach and not knowing how to articulate things, and then really not knowing the subject matter. But they teach and they draw a crowd because of the other things we said, because they put themselves in an adversarial position. Because think about it, like right now, not too many people are even tuned in right now, and I didn't expect anybody to be tuned in really, because I just went live out the clear blue and stuff, and then I know on this channel I don't do the drama. I don't do the noise. I don't do the circus stuff. I don't do any of that. And
yeah,
I already know that's the kind of thing to draw a crowd. So if my intention and my desire is to draw a crowd, then I know I would have to do something like that. I would have to spark up an argument, spark up some fussing, uh, put myself in an adversarial position against somebody or some claim somebody made, and then go all out
yep, of course.
and say this and that and whatnot. And then it'd be a lot more people watching. See, I know that.
And so, look, like my question about that specifically is like, do you when for the crowd, do you think that they believe one position is correct based on how witty they are? Because I see that going on, like when somebody's debating or having an argument, they feel like whoever outwits the other person, they believe he's the more smarter or the genius in the debate. Like even though they could be off, even though they can be using their words incorrectly or not really like articulating the right their answer, they still believe they're right just based
Well,
off them outwitting the other person.
okay, I'll put it this way. So, I have I've had formal training in debating on a college level. And in those lessons and that training that I've gone through, one thing that I remember is that there's a reason why the layperson, the quote unquote peanut gallery, or the audience,
Yeah.
or the fans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, why they do not judge competitions and debates and things, formal competitions of all kinds. They don't do that. For example, in the Olympics, every Olympic sport has well, not every. I don't know, because I'm not gonna pretend to know about all the sports, but most of the Olympic sports, they have their judges, like the diving sport, the gymnastics, the ski jumping. Whenever you're given a rating and whatnot, those ratings are not done by the audience. It's done by a specific and trained group of individuals who know what to look out for. And so the same thing with debates. Debating is not judged by the audience, a general audience. Just like a legal court case is not judged or adjudicated by the people the in the audience in a courtroom. It's done by a jury panel and the judge. The judge and the jury panel handles criminal cases. So, and there's a reason for this. But the way that these things are set up is the opposite.
Yeah,
And
I think the numbers should be opposite in this community, because it's like the crowd can just score onto like the rest of social media and give those results as, give their opinion on what the debate would be, instead of the actual people who, are the expert in the topic.
well, I mean, but what I'm saying is that we don't have debates in the circus community,
Yeah.
in the unconscious community,
I mean, yeah,
so-called
we're not
conscious
supposed
community. There
to.
are no debates. What people are really watching is unorganized or sometimes organized fussing matches. That's it. It's not real debates. Anytime you debate
Yeah.
and then you ask the chat or the crowd, press one if you think so and so
Yeah,
won.
I don't mean to say debate, honestly. I don't.
Oh no, no, but I know what you're talking about. I'm just see because I don't like misnomers, so I try to call things what they are. And that's what they are. They adversarial fussing competitions. And you telling people to press one in the chat for so and so, two in the chat for another person or whatever. That's not how you do things, because but here's the reason why. So here's the reason why. Um like even boxing. Boxing is not judged. Like if a boxing match goes the distance,
Yeah.
then it goes to the scorecards.
Yeah.
And the scorecards are not dealt with by the crowd. It's dealt with by the actual judges of the fight. And they have however many number of judges that will judge the fight based on certain criteria, based on the number of punches thrown, punches landed, um, power punches, whatever, all that stuff. And they know what to look out for. What they're supposed to. They're supposed to be trained to do that. And um and that's how it happens. So you don't like, for example, you will never see a boxing match, professional one, where a fight goes the distance and then the referee gets the microphone and just asks the crowd, who y'all think won? Who y'all think won? You know, and stuff like that. That's not how you do that. That's that kind of thing is for like America's Got Talent, or those things where they judge based on the noise of the crowd. Like, for example, Showtime at the Apollo. I'm sure everybody at some point watched Showtime at the Apollo. And Showtime at the Apollo literally did that. They allowed the crowd to pick the winner.
Yeah, they had the battered things on their seats, I think.
No, 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 no.
I remember that from America's Funniest Videos. Like, that judge which video was the funniest, and they have like a
Oh, they had to actually mark some. No, I'm talking about,
yeah.
listen, no, Showtime at the Apollo was based on the amount of noise the crowd made per
Oh
contestant.
yeah.
So Kiki Shepard,
Yeah.
who was the lady that come on stage, she used to put her hand over one contestant at a time, and then they had to clap for that contestant, and whoever got the loudest applause was the winner.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, mind you, Showtime at the Apollo. The Apollo is in Harlem, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Showtime in Apollo.
Boy, you
Well,
could
it's
tell,
Atlanta, ain't it?
huh?
I thought I was in Atlanta at the Fox Theater.
Boy, man, don't, man. I'm gonna have to erase that. I'm gonna have to erase that off this video. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say that loud ever again. Boy, you gonna get your all your memberships revoked. Saying the Showtime at the Apollo is in Atlanta. Oh my gosh.
Nah, man, I don't know, man.
Don't
The only time I seen it was on YouTube. I ain't even seen it on TV.
Man, don't listen. That's one of the things that you don't say in a crowd. Don't ever say that. Showtime at the Apollo Theater The Apollo Theater is a African American landmark type thing. Like,
Yeah.
man.
Oh yeah, the Apollo Theater, not the Fox Theater.
Yeah, you said the Fox Theater. The Fox Theater is in Atlanta though, so you're right about that.
Yeah.
But man, don't ever say that. I like
Damn, what
I
Apollo? What you said it was again?
It's in
it's
Harlem.
in
Harlem.
Harlem.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm saying that's man, Showtime at the Apollo, James Brown and the whole thing, man. But anyway, but what I'm saying though is okay, so here's the thing. The style of the Showtime at the Apollo of choosing winners, and it was only for the amateur night because the Apollo Theater, you know, obviously it had different things going on at the theater. You pay and you get to see professional performers and stuff. But they used to have amateur night. And amateur night, they have I think 10 contestants. They do that, they do whatever they do, they sing, they tell jokes, whatever, and then the crowd gets to pick the winner. Now see, that's set up for that. And that's okay because you go into it with that, and that's dealing with talent, that's dealing with you know a lot of subjective things. But when it comes to debating, people have taken that Showtime at the Apollo format and tried to bring it over into the scholarly intellectual world, and you cannot do that. It wasn't made for that. And so this is the thing that I learned being formerly part of debating teams in college. You know, debates are judged. You get points taken off. For example, if during your debate you commit a logical fallacy, those are points removed. You know, the commission of logical fallacies. Even if you got the gift of gab and you can out talk or articulate very well, enunciate, and you got a smooth voice or whatever case is, they don't care about that.
Yeah. Not supposed to.
It's like, can you establish your premise and then logically flow from there to reach your conclusions and establish, you know, validity for arguments and all kinds of things. You know, that's how those are done, but we don't see that. So I'm going all the way back to your question you were asking about, you know, why do people are attracted to the fussing and stuff. And I'm saying that we're groomed this way to be that through television, movies. We want a lot of action. We can't sit and watch it. Imagine watching a movie now that has no car crashes, no car flipping over, no car blowing up, nobody getting shot. And now it's even moved even further because see, that's what we got groomed to. But now the younger generation has been groomed for that. Plus, every movie has to have some kind of power. Human beings have to have some kind of power, whether they call them mutants or enhanced humans or something. Like almost every movie, somebody has to have some kind of extraordinary power nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, and watch as time go on, that's going to be the new thing. Like if it don't have it in it, oh, it's boring. I talked to my daughter. I'm like, man, you check out this movie? Oh, that's boring. They don't have any powers.
Right. It's that the mysticism.
You know, or something like that. So I'm saying that to say that the same thing is going on the YouTube streets. If you're not fussing with somebody, if you're not, you know, trying to clown somebody or backstabbing somebody or participating in a crab in a barrel situation, fussing or whatever, then you're not going to draw anybody. It's not going to happen. So that's like, that's what's popular. And it's to our detriment though. That's what's going on, but it's to our detriment. You know, it's to our detriment. We don't go ahead.
No, I think the actual word for that, the powers that they focus on are the kinesis, like the telekinesis and the psychokinesis
Oh,
and things like that.
oh, you talking about the movies?
Yeah, like they really think that's a part of the mind that they could probably tap into, you know.
Yeah, I mean, sci-fi has always kind of been with us. Um, it's just taking on, new pathways now. Sci-fi has been around. Science fiction,
Yeah,
Star Trek. Star Trek is pretty old, and Buck Rogers, Star Trek, Star Wars,
yeah, but that's like the
Battlestar
new belief.
Galactica.
Yeah, that's the new belief now.
But see, the thing is now here's the thing. This how you know what. This how you can recognize the pattern. Um, every movie I just named just now dealt with space. You got Battlestar Galactica. You have Star Wars, Star Trek. What was the other one I named? Oh, Buck
Stargate.
Rogers. Well, you got Stargate, but that's more recent. I'm trying to go back in the vault a little bit.
Um,
Um, so sci-fi mainly dealt with space. Like, when the genre was on and popping, it dealt with space. Star Trek and all those type shows, and then they made movies or whatever was about the stars and stuff like that, right? I mean, space, outer space, and everything. Um, so, but now, mind you, when that was going on, comic books were already a thing. Okay. And so remember, in comic book world, in Marvel and in DC, you already had comic book characters that had either powers, superpowers, extraordinary human powers, mutant powers, and all these other kinds of things going on. But remember, no movies were made about comic books, pretty much, until fairly recently, not recent, but fairly recently, they started to make movies based around comic books. So Marvel has a whole list of movies now that are out. DC, a whole list of movies that are out now. So look at the pattern. And this is what I'm saying. We know the pattern because remember, between the creation of comic books and the popularity of comic books, and now you had the sci-fi explosion where it's everything, Star Trek, Star Wars, and all this other kind of stuff on television and on the big screen. Now you have comic book movies that are way more popular. Like, man, pretty much anything Marvel does is gonna just be off the chain with the comic books. X-Men, you got a few X-Men movies, you got Wolverine, you got a bunch of Hulk movies, bunch of Spider-Man movies, Iron Man, the Avengers, Ragnarok with Thor, whatever.
yeah,
What
it's
else we
been a
got out
lot
there?
that came out in the past 5 years.
You even got Daredevil. Um, what
Black
else?
Panther.
Say it again. Oh, wait, Black Panther, of course.
Yeah,
You got Power Man and Iron Fist.
the Avengers, Defenders of the Galaxy,
Oh yeah, that I don't
um,
know who got into that. Oh, then you have
Loki.
oh yeah, Loki. Yeah, that's the same thing with the Thor series.
Yeah,
But you have what's his name? Deadpool.
right.
Um and
Ghost Rider.
oh yeah, Ghost Rider. Yep, you're right. Ghost Rider. What else? On DC side, you had Superman. And Superman is a classic because Superman movie was like, man, that just took off. Superman, the original with Christopher Reed, that movie, that's an old movie that took off big time. That's what put DC on the map, boy. You had Superman in the whole series. You had Superman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You had Aquaman, Superman. You got Wonder Woman now. Flash. What else? That's popular.
Green Lantern. No, they ain't popping now, but
Oh yeah,
he
Green.
had a couple movies,
You
two
got
movies.
Green Lantern. You got Teen Titans or Titans. So anyway, all right, but
Yeah,
but
so much.
but my point though is that see, we all should take up. a little bit of our time to study um social evolution, social pressures, um the psychology of social, the social fabric, of how things change over time, because we're obviously missing it. We don't recognize these patterns. We don't see the shifts. And the things happen very slow over time. You know, and before you know it, you look back and something has changed, and you didn't realize it changed until you actually realize it's changed. But the only reason why you realize it's changed is because enough time has gone by for you to see the difference. And that's the evolution part. That's how evolution works. You know, like you can't stare at a clock. And I think I'm at the mute. Okay, sounds like somebody's in the car. Um like if you stared at a clock that didn't have the second hand, and you just had the minute and hour hand, and you stare at a clock, you would get bored, and you wouldn't be able to sit there too long to stare at it. And if you were, it would appear to be stuck. You won't really see it move. But what happens is, if you look at the clock and then you look away, and then some time transpires, goes by, then you look back at the clock, you could see a difference. So the difference in the positions of those minute and hour hand would be like two snapshots being compared. But if you create a movie out of it by staring at it, and it would be a bunch of frames per second, then you're not going to really see it move. And so evolution works the exact same way, whether we're talking about social evolution or biological evolution. Biological evolution is very, very, very slow, whereas social evolution is a whole lot faster. But every 10 years, if you look at society and just pick the major aspects of society and just list them, and then plug the information in for every 10 years, go decade by decade, every decade, you're going to see how things change. And like the example I always give is something as simple as the bathing suit, the woman's bathing suit. If you go every 10 years and look at what was acceptable for women to wear as a bathing suit, and go every 10 years, you're going to see it change. Change. And when the bathing suit first came out, it was a whole outfit. No skin was showing. It was like a scuba.
Yeah, but I say yes, down there scuba gear.
I can't even say it's a scuba gear, because scuba gear is tight on your skin.
Yeah, it was more like an overall.
Yeah,
Romper.
like a onesie, onesie pajama set. That was the original bathing suit. Literally, like, you just jump in the pool with your clothes on. So it moved from there to getting a little more skimpy, a little more risque and stuff. And then nowadays you just wear dental floss. Women just wear dental floss between around their waist, and a patch over the chest, and that's a wrap. That's it. That's a bathing suit now. But I'm saying all these things. I mean, I just use that as an example. That's an extreme because people can see that. But everything operates that way. Every single thing in society. And so right now, we're constantly being groomed by social pressures that if we don't see or recognize it happening, we fall victim to. Or I should say we we fold under that pressure. And that's what's going on in the social media streets, YouTube streets and stuff like that. All this adversarial talking, all this noise, all this organized and unorganized fussing matches and stuff like that. It's just a result of all this. And it happens to be detrimental. It's detrimental. So when I first went live, though, I brought up the topic, right, of women, the importance of women in relation to family structure, and by extension, community structure. And so I think that people need to bring that topic to the table and have that discussion, because the way that the unconscious community has portrayed that is all out of whack, and it's all been put under the umbrella that the black woman is God. And I don't think that conversation, enough utility came out of that conversation because of how it's been talked about. The black woman is God, you know, with a bunch of guys saying it, which it really boils down to. And I said this before, it really boils down to people jumping on the bandwagon of saying the black woman is God, really to pull women.
Yeah,
It's really
it's a pitch.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pickup line. It's a grand pickup line, a generalized pickup line to pull women by appealing to women's vanity by saying the black woman is God. Whereas women would be like, oh, okay, the brothers are recognizing our divine feminine and this and that, and it appeals to that. But not enough utility came out of that conversation, because it's very superficial. Because what does it mean? Is a black woman God because they give birth? Say it again.
I said it kind of remind me of something about it's like a social type of experiment. Like they say that, it's kind of like I don't want to say a feminist, but it's more into like, pandering to a woman's desire to be in the position of a higher up type of in society.
Mm.
But it's like for the men to be saying that so many times and not even demonstrating or even applying that to whatever they got going on, it's like it's just hot air.
Yeah, it's a glorified pickup line. That's what it boils down to. The black woman is God. What does that mean? So what I'm saying is that conversation is a misfire. And so to fire correctly and aim straight, the conversation should be about the importance of women in family structure. That's what the conversation should be, because that's something that can be applied. The outcome of that conversation can be things that are applied. Black women being God is really doesn't make sense to say that. And I'm gonna say why. Because the equivalent, if I were to say that black women are human, and I'm not trying to pit the word human against the word God, but if I say that black women are human, nobody would think much of that, because in everybody's mind, we would say, well, the black men are human as well. Or if I just say women are human, and forget, black or white or whatever, if I say women are human, somebody would look at me and be like, well, duh, of course they're human. We're all human. Men and women are human. So if I say women are gods, what's implied in saying that is as if to say that men are not gods. So if I say the black woman is God, even though I'm not saying the words out of my mouth, what I'm implying in that statement, I'm saying the black man is not God. Because if I am saying the black man is God and the black woman is God, then it doesn't make sense to single out the woman. You see what I'm saying? So none of that makes sense when you really just strip everything away, all the fluff and stuff like that, all that feel good. It's just a empty statement, and it boils down to a glorified pickup line.
Yeah.
Because if you by saying it and you create a doctrine around it, you're going to attract women to your congregation. You're going to attract a lot of women followers, get a lot of women likes, and be able to deal with women. And that's what that doctrine has done, and continues to do right now. We see it. Like I said, I can make a case for everything I'm saying in detail. So to bring that conversation to something that's real, then it should be brought up in the sense of the woman's role in family, in the family structure, and then by extension the community structure, because now it makes sense to point that out, because when a woman's role in the family structure is different than a man's role in the family structure.
Yeah.
It's different. There's a lot of overlaps, but there are things that are distinct enough to be talked about and can be discussed to where it can actually help us progress, and that's where the conversation needs to be and should be, whenever, if somebody's bringing that up.
Yeah, because like they're the head of like the nurturing and the raising of the children. More so the man is just more of providing what she needs to nurture them.
And I see the chat Strife. Strife makes a point, right? And says, saying that I see no problem with lifting up a queen. So let's deal with that for a second, because I deal with that on this topic, the lifting up of women, because people will say that by using that phrase, the black woman is God, that is a statement of upliftment for black women. It's to put them on a pedestal, it's to lift them up. And people be like, man, we should do that. That's something that we need to do. Why shouldn't we do that? Shouldn't we lift our women up?
Mm-hmm.
But see, here's this is what I'm talking about. Early on, I'm saying we need to really start to tighten up and have a no tolerance, no warm zone. Get into that no warm zone and start being more definitive, more intentional with the things that we do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Appealing to someone's vanity is, in the long run, it can hurt. And I'm gonna give you an example. It's like having a child or knowing a child. It may not even be your child, but a child is trying to do something. Let's say sing. So the child is trying to sing something, and they have to sing in front of a group of people or whatever, and they're practicing. And so in the practice, the child is singing, but the child is hitting all the wrong notes. Now, as a adult or the child's parent, are you going to go to the child and say, "Oh, you did so great, sweetie. You did so great. You sound so good." Are you going to do that to uplift the child? Or are you going to be honest and give a honest but gentle critique of the child? I mean, obviously the child is a child, so you're going to do it a certain way, but you have to give a constructive critique so that the child can truly be uplifted. Because see, it is a thing. You don't uplift somebody. Like, everybody lifts themselves. And if we enable the non-excellence and the non-precision of things, and we give everything a pass, and we do it all just in the name of feel good and stuff like that,
yeah,
it'll hurt us in the long run. It'll hurt us in the long run.
You gotta tell that kid that's not it. I know you can find it.
Exactly. I mean, there's a way to do it, but you cannot just do that. Like, another example is a boxer. You can't tell a boxer in training that, "Oh man, you sharp, boy, you sharp," when they really not. Because then when they get in the ring for real, they'll get knocked out. And
Yeah.
so we gotta start looking at things like that. We have to be like brutally honest with ourselves. And so saying the black woman is God, it has no, it's an empty declaration. It's just a novelty
Endearment.
to make some to it's like a drug. It's like, this temporary feel good thing, but in the long run it's going to be detrimental. So what I'm saying is that the better conversation to have is not about black women being God, because then you got to explain God and all that stuff. No, the
Yeah.
better conversation is the role of the woman, and if we want to be specific in the social construct, the black woman in family structure, the role of black women in family structure, the importance of women in relation to family structure. What is that?
Yeah. And
That.
then it's like, for me personally, when he said to uplift the queen, I kind of have an issue with the word queen and king also, because it's like, as you said, we need to be more definitive, and just being a king and queen. I know it's a modern times and whatever, but those roles had a, a specific meaning. Those roles are kind of like a big shoe to fit. And anybody just can't be a king or a queen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I mean, I do kind of get, I get kind of aggravated when people call me king sometimes, because it's like, no, it's not that. I have, I know what I'm capable of, and it's not on that type of level as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or for the most part, I don't even want to have that type of responsibility as a king.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. The same thing for men. With the word king and stuff, or the black man is God and everything. Um, it's something it's like a band aid though. It's like a words of encouragement. There's nothing wrong with encouraging things, but we have to be careful in what we do, how we do that, because you don't want to encourage somebody to get their butt kicked in the ring if they're trying to box. So you don't want to give false paint a false narrative just in the name of trying to make them feel good or to encourage them. So real people who know how to encourage people, they know how to surgically do it to where they stay within reality, but they choose their words and they have the skill to be able to motivate somebody with the reality that they have available to them, and not create this fictitious thing and just fluff it out and make them feel good. That's giving a false sense of hope, a false sense of everything. And like, I give another example. How many people have been, grew up in a neighborhood, and if your neighborhood is beefing with another neighborhood, um you live in a neighborhood, and your neighborhood is beefing with another neighborhood, but you go out on your own and you run into somebody from the other neighborhood. Now, depending on if you know that people in your neighborhood got your back or not, that's going to determine and dictate what you say out your mouth. Because if you knew that nobody in your own neighborhood has your back, then you're not going to talk trash if you go into another neighborhood. But if you under the impression that everybody in your neighborhood got your back and rides with you all, ride or die and stuff, if you get caught up in another neighborhood that's beefing, you may talk a lot of trash. So I'm saying that to say that if you think that, but that's not the reality, you in a bad situation. If you think everybody got your back, but they really don't, your actions are going to dictate that, and you're going to be living in a fantasy world. And so that's the problem, that's part of the problem. But anyway, I'm just saying that hold on, let me just make sure. Anybody came in here? Oh, we got two people. We got Rasan and Ghana Bonsu. And I forgot to ask you what what can we call you? What is a short way I can refer to you? Agiopong. You know, your mic is muted if you're trying to talk. Okay.
Just say Ghana.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Ghana. But and I don't know if Rasan is trying to speak.
Yeah, I was gonna. How y'all do? Hit that for the man. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say this, and I'm definitely gonna go to bed. Definitely. Okay, so the way I look at it is of course one of the ways that we interpret the term injure is, which is often interpreted by Europeans, God or goddess, or injured goddess. Those terms, can be translated as principle. So if I use the term, I'm definitely not going to be, I'm not the kind of guy that just throws those terms around just willy nilly. And I agree with you that we shouldn't do that. And it's definitely sloppy to say phrases like the black man is this and the black man is that. That's not very clear. But in terms of, when you see someone who is a principled person and has developed a pretty clear history of being a principled person, they are aligning themselves with unquestionable entities that exist on a fundamental level in our universe, such that we can align them with that and recognize that alignment and call them that. But again, I agree with you that we should be very, very careful about calling people, injure and injured, interroot, all that. We should be very careful about calling them goddesses and goddesses. So I just want to say that, about the principle thing, because ultimately, we do have principled people, and there are principles by which, we can hold ourselves to a standard, that move us towards excellence. And that's actually, when you look at Kemetic tradition, the whole concept of Ak, that's what you're really moving to, the whole, pure blossom concept. That's what that really represents. So but anyway, so I just think, we can't go too far. We can't lunge either way, either direction too far. If we lunge, too far, then we're not recognizing, principled individuals using the language, in the tradition. And then on the other hand, we're not. If we lunge the other way, then we're just being sloppy and willy nilly. So
yeah, you can't take on a title without going through the discipline.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and here's the thing. Since you brought up Kemet, I'm glad you did, because this is where I stick in, the whole thing about misnomers. And so there are valid points, there are valid situations where people will match the meaning behind the labels. And so, for example, in Kemet, you have a famous deity, Nebet Hut. And we should be familiar with the word Neb and the feminine form of that word, Nebet, which is often translated as Lord for Neb and mistress for Nebet, which is kind of crazy in today's time, because a mistress is a glorified side chick today, but it's really the feminine form of the word master. So master, right. Mistress.
Right.
And so Neb is a master or owner, or they translate as Lord, and then Nebet is mistress, lady, and stuff like that. So you have Nebet, and then you have Hut, which is a temple, or you have Nebet Per, which is the master of the house. And these were feminine positions, female roles. And this speaks to what I'm saying should be the discussion. Instead of saying, okay, the black woman is God and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's sloppy. You're not really saying anything clear there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if we get into the importance now, the high importance and the high value of women in their mastery of the pair, the household, or the hut, the temple, or the abodes. If we discuss the importance of what women do and why they do what they do in these situations, that will be a more applicable and more progressive way to handle that conversation than just saying the black woman is God, to appeal to women's vanity and trying to uplift women to make women feel good. Because I'm gonna tell you, in my experience with that whole doctrine, that's a whole doctrine. The black woman is God is a doctrine that was made popular by the Nuwapian organization as a whole, the brother Polite as an individual, the brother Natural Tahuti as an individual.
Natural Tahuti, that's the one I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. And a few others. These are either the group or the individuals that kind of made that doctrine more visible to people. But what ends up happening though, this is what happens. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen real quick. This is what ends up happening. Even in that doctrine. I'm trying to find a fast way to share my screen here. This is what ends up happening. And where we at? Okay, so here we go. Yeah, y'all should be able to see it. This is what happens. I think I got a spot like this for everybody to see it. There we go. Okay, so on the screen, right, I have men, women and men side by side. So and here's a black line which represents the level. Okay, so right now I have men and women at this exact same level. So what people think is going on is this: when you say the black woman is God, people think that you're elevating the woman, like you're pushing the woman up. And everybody's like, man, there's nothing wrong with that. Why shouldn't we elevate the woman? Let's elevate the woman. And that's cool. But that's not actually what's happening. So let me put it back. This is actually what's happening. When people say the black woman is God, what's actually happening is this. So it appears that the woman is being elevated, but the woman is really not being elevated. The woman is still where they are. It's just that the men have been pushed down in the conversations, because I can show you video after video that people that make that discussion about black women being God, they always compare it to the man and put the man down. For example, in the entire Nuwapian organization, because I named Nuwapians, I named Brother Polite, and I named Natural Tahuti. If you listen to all three of those discussions, over time, and I'm choosing the Nuwapian organization as a whole. In the Nuwapian organization, when the whole doctrine of the black woman being God and stuff was prominent, at the same time, men were being put down. That men were, the X and Y chromosome. A Y is nothing but a broken X. The Y chromosome, sexual chromosome, has less genetic material than the X. Therefore, the X is superior, the Y is inferior and stuff. And men are really, we have unusable mammary chests or breasts or nipples and stuff. I mean, all of that stuff about negative putting men down was all a part of that whole conversation. And you hear it, and you can actually hear that same spill in the stuff that Polite was saying and the brother Natural Tahuti saying. I don't know if they all got it from the Nuwapian doctrine. I won't make that claim, but they all said the similar things. And so that is actually what has occurred. This is the reality. The reality was that this was going on, but people are under the impression that this is going on, and that's not it. Because you can make something look elevated if you de-elevate other things around it. So it looks like it's elevated, but it's not. It hasn't been elevated from where it was. It's just elevated from the state that you put both things in. And that's what's going on. So what I'm saying, to avoid all of that, because all that does is a glorified pickup line. It's dudes trying to pull women. That's really what it boils down to. And I've seen it myself. That's what it ends up happening. It ends up being a reality. So scratch all of that and discuss what we need to discuss is the importance, and you brought up the word principle, the principles of women in relation to family, the importance of a woman's role in the manufacturing of households, family, and communities. That is where the conversation should be. And we have a lot to draw from. We have a lot of examples and things to draw from. Like I said, there's a deity that is named the master of the abode, Nebuchadnezzar. Everybody's familiar. I mean, everybody says her name as Nephthys. So you may not recognize Nebuchadnezzar in terms of the two words juxtaposed together, Nebet and Hut. Everybody just says Nephthys. Everybody knows, okay, Nephthys is the sister of Isis, all set and everything. But not the role of women. And so here's the thing. So think about this. And to put it in a brief real terms, one of the woman's roles, like right now, women would be highly a lot of women would be highly offended if you were to say that a woman's role is in the house and as well as not only in the house but also in the kitchen. If you say that, you're gonna get into an argument. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get into an argument with another woman. If you would say that to a woman, that your role is in the house and in the kitchen, you're gonna get into an argument. But and because of the argument, it will never be analyzed as a discussion of what does that mean, or is it true, or should it be true? But I can't say is it true because it's not the reality that we see now. But what's the purpose of that? Where did that originate from? Where did that come from? A woman role being vitally important in the house and in the kitchen. Now, if I say it that way, that's a little bit better way of saying it. A woman's role is vitally important in the house and in the kitchen versus me saying a woman's role is in the house and in the kitchen. If I say it like that, a woman's role is in the house and in the kitchen, women get offended. Be like, nah, women, we could do more than that. We could work too. We could do this. We could do that. But if I say, hey, a woman's role is vitally important in the house and in the kitchen. See, that has a little bit better, that would be received a little better. And it may open it up for the discussion that should be had after somebody saying that. And so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that instead of people saying black woman is God and all this and that, they need to have that conversation. What is the role of women in the household? How important is it? And in the kitchen. I know that's irking some women, boy. If some women hear this, they're gonna be like, boy, Brother Wujao is a male chauvinist saying that women's role is in the house and the kitchen. No, I'm not saying that. So let me just be clear. I'm not saying a woman's role, because to say it like that is like a woman was created to be in the house and in the kitchen only. And that's not it. That's not the case at all. I will say it this way. A woman's role is vitally important in the house and in the kitchen. And I can make a entire case for both of those situations. And I'm gonna say something quick to back up what I'm saying. A woman, it would be very, very nice if a woman knew all of the macro and micronutrients that the human body needs. By knowing all of the nutrients that the human body needs, and if the human body gets damaged, all the things that it would need to help to repair itself, then the woman would be able to exercise skill and art and creativity in preparing something that we need every single day, which is food, every single day, to ensure that everybody in the household health is at an optimal level, so that no matter what we do, we're doing it with optimal health. And so there's a science to it, that if a woman knew all the micronutrients that the human body needs, then she would know that she needs resources, or the next step will be to find out where to get those things. What resources, what are the best resources to get all of those nutrients that the human body needs? And then the man can provide those resources and materials or whatever. The woman exercising her creativity and her knowledge can actually translate or convert all of that raw material into nice, tasty meals on a daily basis, because we need to eat every day. All humans need to eat. We're catabolic, we metabolize, we're warm-blooded, we need to eat, and we literally are what we eat. And if we don't give our bodies the right resources to perform and to exist in an optimal state of health, then it doesn't matter what we try to do. We're going to be we're not going to be, fully cranked up. We're not going to be operating on a full tank. So that's a very, very important thing to do in a household. And a woman's role, or that role being more fitting for a woman, is anchored in nature itself, in the natural, I don't even know what you call it, the natural progression of humans, period, in relationship to nature. And so here's why. A woman is, out of the two genders of our species, we got men and women. It is the woman that gives birth to children, not the male of the species. It's the female of the species. The female gives birth. The female nurtures the newborn. The male does not. So the woman at the very start of new life is responsible for providing that new life, in the form of a baby, all of the nutrients that it takes for them to grow while in the womb and after giving birth through breastfeeding. And so the baby's development in a woman is dependent upon how the woman treats herself and the nutrients she gives herself, which in turn is giving to the baby. So at the very start, through a natural process, the woman is already in that role. The woman is already in the role of needing to know what the human body needs and getting it, and putting it in the form of a meal, because they're doing it for themselves, which in turn gives the baby while they're pregnant. And then once the baby's born, the woman has to make sure she's in tip-top shape in terms of nutrients, so that when she breastfeeds, that the baby's getting everything it needs, period. And then even when the baby weans off the breast and starts eating solid foods and whatnot, it's the mother that should be knowledgeable enough to know to make that transition, number one, and then what the baby should be eating, period. So that is a role that nature has actually dealt with the between the two genders of our species. So it's nothing put down about that. There's nothing chauvinistic about it, and it actually should be elevated in a level of importance. It should be glorified. But if you say it and you discuss it in the wrong way, women will be offended about being connected to food and cooking and preparing food and stuff like that. That's what maids do. That's what, I'm not a maid. I'm not your restaurant. I'm not your waiter and stuff. And that's not even to mention, that's not to mention the advent of microwave oven, TV dinners and stuff where a lot of women don't know how to cook as well as women back in the day. And that's just circumstantial to today's society. You got fast food restaurants, you got delivery systems out the wazoo now, DoorDash, Uber Eats, all the fast food restaurants, and then you got microwave. So a lot of love is lost in meal preparation. And I remember when I was young, it was very important for the family to sit down and have a home cooked meal. And when I was young, it was at least once a week. So that's in my generation. At least once a week, we sitting down and having a, not just a holiday thing. We sitting down and having a home cooked meal. Like you couldn't bring fast food up in the house. You better, if you got fast food, you better eat it from the fast food place in the car until you got to the house. You weren't bringing that stuff in the house. Man, that's a violation. And so I'm saying, this is something that's real. We all have to eat. And in light of the pandemic, in light of SARS-CoV-2, the virus, and all this hoopla, the politicization of the whole thing, the quackiness of the whole thing, and the science, all wrapped up into one, it just created a bunch of noise. But one thing for sure is that we realized that a super virus will definitely point out the vulnerabilities of human health and who is more susceptible to be vulnerable. So when SARS-CoV-2 swept the nation, it's the vulnerable people that got harmed the most. And those are people with underlying conditions. And I try to steer away from that phrase pre-existing conditions, because believe it or not, I don't know if you all know this, but pre-existing conditions, that phrase is really an insurance term. It's used for when you get health insurance and things. That's in the nomenclature of insurance companies and things. But in the hospitals and in the medical field, it's usually underlying conditions. And so, that's just an FYI. But the so-called African American community, the Black community, is hit hard with this super virus, SARS-CoV-2, because of our soul food diet and our lifestyle of eating soul food diet or SAD, standard American diet and things. And so it's a combination of our lifestyle, which our eating habits, can be tucked up under that, which shows our vulnerability. Type 2 diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and these kinds of things are making, a certain population or a portion of the population vulnerable. And so here we are. So in light of this pandemic, I don't care how much argument that people may have back and forth, the numbers don't lie. the outcomes of certain situations are not going to lie. We can take it and learn from all of that good stuff. And so what I'm saying, along with, coloring the conversation about the black woman being God, to direct it into something useful, because I'm telling you, that's just a bunch of garbage. The black woman is God, that doctrine. And I'm not saying that to be at any put down for women at all. I'm saying that doctrine is really an empty, it's just a vanity claim. So what I'm saying is that the more pressing and more important, or what should be focused on and discussed, is the high level of importance of women in the role of creating family and community. And so I'm saying that a woman's role is very, very vital and important in the household, and specifically, and I'm saying and, not or, and I'm not saying only, but it's important in the kitchen. And that word kitchen is a trigger word. Women gonna be like, oh man, there you go with the kitchen thing. So let's just take out the kitchen. Let's just say is very, very important in the nurturing room. Let's call the kitchen the nurturing room, the nutrition and nurturing room. So we can stay away from that word kitchen, because I'm gonna tell you, we all eat, and think about it. What is food? Like food versus not food. Everything that we ingest and digest does not mean that it's food. Food is supposed to be substances that provide the macro and micronutrients that the body needs. Do you understand how much stuff we eat that is non-nutritional? That's not food. That's not real food. And so the woman is the gatekeeper of that. It would be nice if women were the gatekeepers. And I'm saying that, and I'm saying woman's role and not a man's role, is because by nature the woman does it already. It's just that we don't see the connection in the bigger picture, because when a woman becomes pregnant, she has to turn into an immediate food scientist if she wants her baby to come out strong and vital and kicking. Give the baby the best shot. She has to learn what her body needs, what the baby needs as it develops. And then once the baby's born, she has to learn what she still needs by way of breastfeeding to still give to the baby. And then once the baby weans off the breast milk and everything is giving other foods, and in time giving solid foods, she has to know what that child needs. That is all science of it. And then the creative and art aspect of it is, once you know what those nutrients and things are, you got to find out where to get them from, and then to convert that raw materials where you got it from, whether it's plant-based, whatever, or not, then make them into meals that are enjoyable. That's it. There's nothing wrong. Like that's like vitally important. That's like so important. Look, and let me give you another example. If you decide to box, let's use boxing. I could use any sport, but I'm gonna say sport. But within sport, let's just use boxing, right? Before a major boxing fight, let's pick Mayweather. Before Mayweather fights a fight, he has to go into boot camp or training camp. No matter how many times he fought before, and however experienced he is, he has to prepare for the upcoming fight. And in preparation for the upcoming fight, he has to be very strict. Like his trainers have to give him a very strict regimen, strict protocols on what to eat, how to eat, when to eat, what to train, how to train, when to train, how much sleep to get. And he and boxers that come out on top or in their tip top shape, they have to stick to this rigid protocol to be at their best. Same thing with Olympic athletes. The track and field. Everybody watch the track and field. Those sisters that won 1, 2, 3, the Jamaican, the sisters that represented Jamaica. You best believe when they train. I don't know if you've ever seen, their training video footage and what they do. Man, they go through a lot, but they are very rigid. Look at Serena Williams in tennis. She explains her the way she trains. And so what I'm saying is that we know this already. We know, but we don't know. We know that in order to perform, we need to be at our best. And to get there, we have to follow a very strict protocol.
Yep. Yeah, I got practice all the time.
Say it again.
So I got no miss practice.
And so what I'm saying is that family, in order to execute and perform in the world, we have to get on a strict protocol in preparation to get out there and make progress in the world. And the coach, the role of a trainer, the role of a coach for the Olympics, the role of a trainer in boxing falls in the lap of the wife, the woman in the household. Not just her, not only her. There's a lot of overlap, but I'm focusing on women for the sake of this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
To set forth these protocols. She is the master of the house. Nebet Per or Nebet Hut. She owns that.
I want to say that I feel like women should get the I think that's what women should get out of the word submission, or to submit. Is like they should take that as taking a individual and actually analyzing and psychoanalyzing outside of themselves so they can see what they actually need.
Yeah, see, I know what you're saying, and that needs to be removed from the conversation. Though submission is not a good thing to introduce into the conversation. If anybody's having this kind of conversation, that word submission is like should be a off limits word.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to take it, but I was just saying, like, whenever whatever context that when it's ever out of context, I feel like that's the context they should actually be.
No, I'm agreeing. No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you by saying that women do need to get that idea of submission out of their mind, and then anybody having this conversation should not even introduce it as a submissive role. The role of a woman in the household is far from being submissive, because the role of the woman in the household is the I don't know what other word we can use, but it is the backbone. Like the woman actually controls the outcome of a household. Because whoever controls the nurturing aspect of anything controls the outcome of that thing. For example, do you have a pet?
Nah, I did.
Okay,
they're gone.
Okay. Anybody who has a pet, you go get a pet. I don't care if it's a cat, dog, bird, whatever. You are responsible for that pet's life and how it functions. You have a choice. You either buy a bird. Let's say you get a cat, but you feed the cat food that you should feed a turtle. Guess what? That cat is not going to function properly. That cat is probably going to get sick and eventually die way before its time, because you're not in line with what the cat needs, but you're responsible for that. So you actually control the fate of that cat. And what I'm saying is that the role of the nurturer of a household is actually the one that controls the fate of that household. And so that is far from being a submissive role. That is a very controlling role. That is a very, like, quote unquote, God-like role to control what's fed into a system that's going to eventually come out on the other end. And so the nurture, all the nurturing responsibilities that fall in a woman's lap is very vital to how a family functions outwardly on the other side. Period. So submission shouldn't even come up in the same sentence as the role that women have in the household. And I said this before, that back in the day, it's embarrassing for somebody in your household to get sick. Because on one hand, if somebody in your household got sick, it's looked at as the woman, that somebody's not on their job. Somebody's not keeping their family healthy. So somebody getting sick in a household was looked at like, oh man, dang, go on. You want to avoid that. Socially now, I'm talking about socially in your small little neighborhood. If any of y'all have grandmothers that's still alive or great grandmothers, ask them. People got sick. It was like, nah, you don't want to tell nobody. Like, you stay. We got to get you better real quick. Because you being sick, that means I'm not doing my job. I can't have neighbors looking at me like I'm not doing my job. You crazy?
Mm-hmm.
And then, for the children's ability to be all that they can be, and for the man to be all that he could be, doing what's fitting for the men's role, it's a common denominator. And that is what women do and have done in the same instance of giving birth, which is nurturing all of that. Now, in Kemet, we see what I'm saying in part in some of the iconography. So, for example, the institution of kingship, remember, the king was the responsible party, the responsible person for the kingdom. The kingdom, all of its people. That was a heavy load on the king's back to be responsible for the entire kingdom. The king had to defend. He had to provide for the entire kingdom. He had to make sure everything was running to where the kingdom was operational and optimal and defended. So that institution of kingship is groomed and nurtured by a woman. And we see this in some of the iconography where you see Osset breastfeeding Heru. Remember, the institution of kingship is governed by the deity Heru. And Osset being the queen mother of Heru, who was king in terms of how the myth and the stories unfold. Heru was king. She nurtured him. And in the iconography, you will see grown kings. And I wish I had one to pull up and show right now, real fast. Grown men as king, breastfeeding on the woman. And you got some, knucklehead Hebrew Israelites and stuff try to argue, be like, oh man, see, that's that Kemet whack stuff, grown men breastfeeding. Why they gonna have that on the walls of Egypt? On the walls of Egypt, you got grown men breastfeeding with women, sucking women's whatever and this and that. They don't even understand what's actually being conveyed and stuff like that. So you have this nurturing aspect, a principle embodied in Osset. One of her symbols is the high-backed chair throne, the high-backed throne. And we all know that the king is enthroned to become king, and so the woman nurtures the entire institution, and that institution is responsible for everybody's livelihood. Again, falling back on the woman. The woman is very, 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 very important. So much so that two women, known as the two ladies, Nebti, two women, the king has a two ladies name. All kings from the fifth dynasty on just about have 5 names. If you weren't aware of that, just FYI. And one of the king's names was known as the Nebti name, which is the two ladies, Nekibet and Wajet. Both of them being winged. We know cobras don't have wings. We know vultures do have wings, but both of them are winged. Winged cobra, winged vulture. The wings represent protection. And you'll see that in iconography as well, where the wings of these birds will actually guard or protect, somebody within the scenery. But they even represent this aspect that I'm speaking of. So these are deities that are reflecting, the things that we should be discussing and kind of rekindling in our communities and in these discussions, the importance of women. Not just to say the Black woman is God. No, let's talk about how important women are. That's a better conversation. How important are women? Instead of the Black woman is God. Can I get your number? That's what they're doing. So anyway, I know I'm doing a lot of talking, and I'm not even looking at the comments, so I'm trying to catch up on the comments. What people say in the comments? I see the comments have rolled off. Hold up, Hotep Vyasa. Listen, the link is in the chat, so if any of y'all want to come on here, you invited. Come on in, kick it for a little bit. Let me get this off the screen. I'm doing all this talking, and y'all looking at these 2 lines on the screen. Yeah, come on in here, cause I missed a lot of comments. I see people that came and went. Vyasa said, I think it's cause for so long women idea of adventure was suppressed in the cause of this country. Outside vicariously attaching herself to something they had adventure suppressed from them. No one can contain the outcry for adventure only through the eyes of girls pretending to be women in society. Okay. Desharab says, not Mayweather. All right, we could pick Muhammad Ali then. Let's see. Strife, food for thought. If what you say is true, why are male chefs on average higher paid? See, that's a good question, but it's easily answered because it's a disparity between women's pay, period, no matter what job they have. So it's not just chefs, it's everywhere, in government, in education, in chefs, like you said. Women, period. Women were paid less than men all across the board. And women have been fighting, against that for a long time. And so that has changed over time. But that's just true all the way across the board. And I'm going to tell you, one of the main reasons why is because the woman has been belittled, and so women have a right to feel what they feel, and why this whole, like, if you say the women's roles in the house and the kitchen, why it's so offensive. But we have to talk about it in the correct way and elevate that role, that importance. I mean, man, listen, that's an important, vitally important role. That should have submissive is not bad. Dismissive is. Okay, see, with that, in the context of conversations like this, submissive is taken the wrong way, just as if somebody were to just blurt out, well, a woman's role is in the house and in the kitchen. See, so there has to be some tact behind that. Let's see. And then also, I do want to make this clear too. What I'm saying, I'm not saying the woman's role is only in the kitchen or in the house. So I don't want to inject this word only, because I'm not saying that. And I haven't used that word only. I'm saying that out of all the things that women do, the role that women have in the household and in the nurturing room that we call a kitchen, the nutrition and nurturing room, or part of the household, is vitally important. That's what I'm saying. It is the utmost importance. Utmost importance. Strife says, Wujao, can you go into the umbilical cord and its meaning in the Medew and importance in Kemet in regards to the maternal aspect? Well, what I could say for that in the amount of time is this about the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord, okay, the male, here we are again, making a distinction between the male and female of our species. So we are all part of the same species, Homo sapiens sapiens. All right, we're one species, but we have two distinct genders, the male and female of the species. The male of the species is the distant deity, the unseen deity of the situation. And just follow what I'm saying. The male is the unseen deity. The female is the seen and tangible deity. So the male is the intangible, unseen deity. The female is the tangible and seen deity. Okay. When a woman gives birth, now mind you, I'm not talking about today in 2021. I'm saying, just throughout humanity. Okay. When a woman gives birth to a child, the child, if it could remember, will know who its mother is. And the mother will know the child, obviously. But other people, you can actually observe empirically by observation that this child belongs to this woman, because one, the woman gives birth to the child, not the male of the species. Two, even once the child is born, the child is still attached to the woman. You have to actually cut the child away by cutting the umbilical cord. So the woman, again, is the tangible and seen deity. The men, or the male of the species, or even the father, is the unseen, intangible deity. All right, just by virtue of nature itself. Now we know that in order for the baby to even exist, that the woman needs the help of a man, the sperm from the man fertilizing the egg of the woman, and so on and so forth. But what can be observed all throughout human history was that a woman is the visible, tangible deity of that situation, and the father or the man, the male, is the unseen, intangible. That scenario plays itself out in other areas of life within the community. The woman was the sedentary, visible, tangible, seen person or deity, whereas the men or the males of the community were unseen. By unseen, I mean the men would go along the perimeter to defend the community or to hunt and collect resources, whether it's food or whether it's weaponry or whether it's building material or what have you. It was the men that did that kind of work and went out. So the men are known as the distant ones, and the women are the close ones, the intimate ones. So women were intimately seen, tangible deities. The men were the distant, unseen, intangible deities, even on a community level. All right. And so you had this principle, this unseen God being a male way out there in space somewhere creating. Think about this now. I want y'all to follow what I'm saying, because it plays itself out in so many different manifestations. So I'm going to give you another example. In Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, especially Christianity. So let's just deal with Christianity. In Christianity, God is a he. They always use the pronoun he, which is third person masculine singular pronoun, he, him. God is a he, him. Father, they don't say mother, they say our Father who art in heaven. They don't say our Father who art on earth or close to us. They put the Father at a distance. Okay? So follow this. They put the Father way out there at a distance. Our Father who art in heaven. Now, the mother principle or the feminine principle, they place on earth close. That's Mary, the mother of Jesus. So the mother is seen, but the Father is unseen. Okay? So it plays itself out right there in Christianity as well. But this is a ancient and just a human thing for basic human survival, that men were always at a distance and women were in control of the nucleus, in control of the foundation, in control of the home, in control of the community, while the men defended and provided. So men were the distant providers and women were the intimate, tangible providers. A child breastfeeds on the mother's breast. That's tangible, that's visible. The child does not get any nourishment from the father. No direct nourishment from the father. Children get direct nourishment from the mother. So the mother becomes the physical reach out and touch deity, and the father becomes the unseen, untouchable deity. And it plays out in Christianity, where the Father, God, is unseen. No man can see God and live. All the different sayings in the Bible. But yet here's the mother of God and God's son at the same time. Mary, she's tangible. She's chilling all throughout the New Testament. Coming to Jesus' tomb, coming to Jesus' baptism, and some more stuff. Hiding him in Egypt. Mary is very tangible. So anyway, back to the umbilical cord thing. The umbilical cord was I said all of that to say about the umbilical cord is that it anchors the reality or what's observable in terms of the connection between a child and his mother, and establishing the role of what I've been speaking about pretty much the whole night, which is the very, very, very vital and important role that women have in family structure, because it's through the woman that the family is even nurtured to be a family. Women have a very, very important and vital role in that. And that's what we need to elevate and remind women of. As a man, remind women of, not in a suppressing way of saying a woman needs to submit to men or her only place is in the kitchen and saying things like that. No, that's not it. A woman needs to be a scientist, a food scientist, a nurturing scientist, as well as a creative. That's it. You know, a lot of successful families, like, you know, back in the day, I remember my friends, some of my friends that had that were like first generation, you know, here in America, but they came from either, I have some friends that were from families from Haiti and from you know, Spanish speaking countries. And I noticed how the household ran. I noticed that, like, for example, my friends that were from Haiti, their mother, my friend's mother, used to make sure that the whole house was fed. And my friend's father used to work and come home like clockwork. He used to come home like about 6 p.m. every day. And or whatever time. And I remember my friend's mother used to fix food for the whole house, but everybody had to eat. Everybody ate before their father got home. And so they had a routine where they would set aside food for him. And he had like a special plate, a special thing to cover it, and the whole nine. It was always the right proportions and the whole thing. That was known as his plate. That was his plate. So even though they could eat at a different time, they reserved a plate for him. And so when he got home from hard working the whole day, there was food there every single time. Every single time. And I remember my friend's mother and his grandmother, which was his mother's mother lived with them. And it's the same thing. I could see that it was passed down. And that's what they kept stressing. They said this right here, this food is the core. This is it. This is everything that makes this family what it is. And back then I didn't really understand that. None of us, my friend, you know, we kind of young. We didn't understand that. We just knew the food was good, because when I used to go over his house and they had some food, and that's the thing. She fixed enough for even friends. So when I would go over to his house and we hang out and we hang out long enough for it to be dinner time, his mother used to fix enough food so that we could have a little bit of it. But if there was any shortage of food, they made sure that their father had that full plate though. They made sure so if they made sure everybody eats. So me being, you know, the friend, and I'm not, you know, living there, it's like if there was nothing left, it was like, oh, that's just too bad. And I knew that. I respected that. It's like, nah, I didn't, you know. But all we knew, boy, that food was off the chain. Pure love, no microwave, nothing. Everything is on the stove. Everything. If it was rice, the rice was soaking. If it was beans, the beans was soaked the night before. If it was green beans, you know, they up there, you know, popping the beans, fresh beans, pick, popping them, breaking them in half. Everything. I'm telling you, man. So
and then let them soaked overnight beans.
Oh, it's soaked overnight? Yeah. Lentils, red beans and rice. And they're from Haiti, so you know they got Haitian dishes and spicing and stuff like that. Man. So anyway, so I'm just saying that's it. So I know I've been running my mouth. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. See, Deshareb says, but the man is Keper, the woman is Heteru. She's not the mother of God. Mary, Tom Mary. Listen, Mary is the mother of God because there are some Christians who believe Jesus is God. You know, that's a weird situation when you are you are the son of yourself. You're the son and father of yourself at the same time. That's just really, really weird. That should never make sense to anybody. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of just touch on that a bit. But I think that should be part of the conversations, man. So, you know, whatever you all's thoughts are on this, just be mindful of the sensitivity of women, of even sparking this conversation, because women will be offensive and get defensive. They'll be offended. And I know this because I've had these conversations for years. Even while the Black woman is God was at its peak, you know, all these platforms, you see people talking about the Black woman is God, the Black woman is God. I'm like, what does that mean though? Black woman is God. Is, you know, Black woman is God on OnlyFans? Black woman is God on TikTok and Instagram, Insta stories, Reels, and all that. Like what does it mean? I'm saying.
No, man.
And you know, and then you know, we can have a conversation of the importance of the men's role. You know, but I'm saying it starts with that. It starts with the woman. It starts with the woman, because family starts with the woman, because it's the woman who gives birth. You know, a woman creates a family, because a family in general is seen as a man, woman, and offspring. And the one responsible by nature for producing offspring literally is the woman, even though the man and the woman partake in the whole, you know, the whole process, but women are literally the creators of new life. You know what I mean? They give birth. You know, there's no way, you can't get around that. A woman has no choice but to be in the role that I'm describing. And that should be honored and highlighted. It should be applauded. It should be honored and highlighted. Not suppressed, not demeaned, not joked about or anything like that. That is a very serious and vital role. And the interesting thing is that we know it, but we don't know it. Everybody favors the tangible over the intangible. Do this. Look at any sports person who achieves anything. Look at any successful actor, entertainer, person in sports. When they achieve something and they give an opportunity to thank someone outside of Heavenly Father or God or whatever, they are thanking their mothers.
Yep. Sometimes the first thing they say is mama.
Yep. Shout out to my mom for putting up with so.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
even for me, like because like I didn't grow up with my mom, so in my mind, she is God to me because she's not around, but she's the reason I'm even here today.
Mm-hmm.
So I put her in that godlike position to say she even created me to be here and experience this reality, even though she's not here with me.
Well, we have to really the intent, the I guess the noble aspect of
Yeah,
declaring.
so me just deifying her in that way.
Yeah. And I'm saying that's what we should do. Like if there was any noble intent in the declaration that black woman is God, um, that noble intent would be to emphasize the importance of women in the family structure and by extension the community structure, because a community is a network of families, and so it starts with the family structure. And so a woman's role in the family structure is all that in a bag of chips. It's both, but I'm saying that because in order for a woman to perform that role with excellence, it takes the help of a man. So I'm not leaving out the role of a man, but it's just that I'm only talking about one at a time. But that woman's role is very, very vital. Very, very vital. And so imagine this. So let me ask you, I'm gonna ask anybody in the chat. Does anybody in the chat know all of the nutrients that the human body needs? And not only know all those nutrients that the human body needs, but where to get the best quality of them. Like, where are they found? In what? What is the best resource or source for those nutrients? That's two. So number one, knowing all the nutrients the human body needs. Two, where to source them from. And then three, know how to creatively create meals from that, from 1 and 2, to where it's enjoyable and it becomes a part of an everyday lifestyle. And so I'm asking the chat, does anybody in chat know all three of those? Donnie said breast milk.
What you said again? The three what?
Okay,
what's the question?
Here are the three things. The number one is what are all the nutrients that the human body needs? Okay, so that's something that needs to be known. That's number one. Number two is where to source all those things. So that's number two. And number three is to take number two and to create meals that can become part of our day to day. So that's three very, very vital things. And I'm asking, does anybody in the chat or whatever know all three of those things, or function or apply those three things? And if not, then we need to do something about that. And I'm saying that by nature, a woman is fit to do just that, to be that scientist, to do that. Because by nature, a woman is in that position already.
Mm-hmm. And I think even so, like in ancient times, even if the mother, or even now, like in in certain villages, if the woman wasn't able to breastfeed, they knew what animal to receive the milk from to feed the baby.
Say that again?
Like for the women that never knew how to, the women that couldn't develop breast milk, they'll know what animal to actually get milk from to nurture their baby.
Okay, yeah, but now we're dealing with a category of exceptions though, because a woman
that's besides the point.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, but that that's a reality, but it's a exception category, because women by nature have mammary glands and lactate so that they could feed the offspring. Human. We're animals. We're the human animal, but we're mammals, and we have we're part of that whole thing. So any woman who gets pregnant and have a child and is still unable to breastfeed, that's like an exception, because the whole pregnancy process is what triggers hormones that develop the milk and everything like that. All these things are triggered because of these processes, and that's what I'm saying. A woman's by nature is built this way. Women are built this way, a certain way, and these are things that nobody can get around. I don't care how somebody feels about that. Men and women are physiologically different. There's a whole lot of overlapping because we're all human, but there are some differences, and there's some consequences to those differences. Men, we don't give birth, we don't have a womb, we don't breastfeed. Women do all those things. And so as an extension of that natural role is what I'm saying, it extends to the family, and then from the family it extends to the community. It's just a very natural fitting progression. And that needs to be emphasized and celebrated. Not as a pickup line, not as trying to pull women or something like that. Because a conversation about that, it totally just bypasses any of that kind of stuff going on. Because I'm only talking about the surface of it, because I keep asking the question about nutrients and stuff. How many women do you know that knows all the nutrients that the human body needs, that treats food as a science? Food is our medicine. Food is the most basic preventative medicine. Because here's the thing. We're surrounded by poisons all day, every day. We're surrounded by pathogens all day, every day. And we always have been as humans. And if we're in optimal health, we will do okay against those surrounding poisons, toxins, and pathogens. But we have a rough time with super pathogens, super viruses, and things like that. That's when we need to do some extra stuff. And then, that's the advent of vaccinations and stuff like that. But here's the thing. What we can prevent a lot of issues. And I'm saying outside of the super pathogens. But a lot of illnesses and sicknesses that we go through as humans can actually be prevented if what I'm saying was in place. If we fed ourselves fed our bodies what it needs, it will function at an optimal state, or optimally, to fight off the norm. And so I'm not speaking about the super stuff, the super viruses like SARS 1 and 2, MERS, and all Ebola and all these other kind of super pathogens.
Yeah.
But the day-to-day stuff, because we do it right now. Our body's constantly detox, the liver, the lungs, the skin, the kidneys. Those are the major organs that clean and detox the body on a daily basis, 24, 365 thing. So it's very important that we give our bodies what it needs, and that it'd be nice if women became those scientists to do that, because that's something we do every day.
it's kind of like that's why you go to the grandmother for the 1,000 remedies.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I bet you everybody has that grandmother or that grand auntie that if you got sick, she
Yeah,
whipping up something.
yeah,
She gonna slap something together and make you drink it. It's gonna be nasty as all outdoors, but you gonna drink it. Or she gonna slap some Vicks Vapor Rub on your chest, or put something in the tea.
yeah.
Tell you
Like,
to drink this.
like even with my grandmother, like even when we were not sick, she always tell you to drink your bitters for just to keep your I guess your intestines well and all that type of stuff. You have to drink some bitters.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Yeah.
don't do that without her around. You wouldn't do that on a regular basis. I
But
don't know how
what's
about that.
interesting? Something as basic as in the household, if we were to poll, I guarantee that we would kind of be it'd be interesting outcome. But if we were to poll the average household in our neighborhoods and ask, does anybody in the household, at least one person knows CPR and first aid?
No, we don't talk about that.
Listen, I guarantee you that we be in for an interesting outcome on that. If we were to poll the average household in our communities, whether somebody in the household was proficient in CPR and first aid, something as basic as that. Heimlich maneuvers, if somebody's choking, if somebody loses consciousness, can't breathe.
For far as I can tell, there's always a fire truck coming around fast as they can.
Do people know rescue breathing, CPR, and first aid? Those are three things. Because
Yeah.
somebody could be conscious and have an obstruct airway, rescue breathing. CPR is when the pulse stops. Um,
I mean, that was something I was thinking about when I was young too.
but
Like
I'm
I,
just saying. Oh, go ahead.
like I should study, like I should have known CPR or something like that. If one of my parents would have been in that type of trouble or something, or my sisters or something. But it's like, no, we don't discuss that. And I never even run across them to even ask about it. We never talked about fire safety or the escape routes we're supposed to go, anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. But see, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. When I say household, see, the physical structure of a house is not is I'm talking about household. The household, it includes these things. So shame on us. And this is why, we have to get on ourselves. Every household should know these basic things. Like every household, somebody in the house needs to know all the nutrients that the human body needs. Somebody in the house needs to know CPR. Somebody in the house needs to know rescue breathing, first aid. Somebody in the house needs to know these things. And if we don't, and a lot of us don't, we need to be honest with it and make a change. Do it. Like me, I used to be a lifeguard and a pool operator for for many years, and I, being a lifeguard, you had to learn that. You had to learn CPR, rescue breathing, first aid, period. You had to do that, and and I had to renew my license because you had to be certified. You had to be certified every year. You had to get recertified. I think some of them lasted more than 1 year. But right now, all my certifications definitely has long been expired. So I would have to take a refresher, definitely, because there's things I forgot. Doing CPR, I forgot how many compressions per breathing, and so on and so forth, and all that. Because sometimes it changed. Because when the data, better data comes, then the protocols change, um, and stuff like that. So I would have to get recertified, and that's something that as I'm saying this is something that I feel that I need to go ahead and do. But if I had to, because I used to be certified, because I used to deal with this all the time, that if I was put in that position, I would have that reflexive response to an emergency situation, just based on what I know, muscle memory, from what I know. But I would still need to get definitely refreshed on that. And I remember an incident that took place in a grocery store, and this was kind of recent. This was maybe 3 years ago or so. And without me even thinking at all, it was pure reflex that I helped the situation, the person in the situation, using my knowledge in giving first aid and just coming to somebody's aid without even thinking, like making sure that they were breathing, was saying certain things to make sure that they were conscious and they knew where they were and stuff like that, all this other kind of stuff. But anyway, so it's just basic things like that. Basic things like that. Shame on us if we don't know first aid and everything. Somebody could be eating dinner, nice dinner, start choking. What do? What, you gonna call 911, wait for them to get there? Nah.
Yeah.
You do that as well.
Practice the Heimlich.
You call 911, but you don't just sit and wait. So anyway, I see Chris Wither. He said he's certified in both. Yeah. And my sister's a nurse, and she actually used to give classes. She's a certified, and she's able to give instructions for it. I need to talk to her. But I remember like when you give instruction like that, you want a class, like, because you have to rent the mannequins, all the tools and things you need and stuff, and usually you got to have like a class. You got to have a few people. You can't just train one person. And that's one of the things that she was saying. You got to have at least a certain amount of people that's interested. But anyway, so the woman is important, very, very important. Without our women, man, we would be nowhere. And I think that women need to be appreciated, and we need to understand, both men and women, we all need to understand the importance of the responsibility of women that they already have, and the extension of it. We got to connect it. That's it. We have to connect it. Yep. So I don't know if anybody else is in here. Let me look. Anybody in here? No, guess not. So I'm not going. It's 1 a.m. Nobody else want to click the link. So I'm gonna wrap it up. But I hope the conversation comes up on. I hope people continue the conversation, and all that good stuff. Did I miss anything? We would be shocked at how many don't know to call 911, let alone perform CPR. Yep. And that's sad. Somebody will pick up their phone to turn on the video before aiding someone.
Yeah, I think Facebook Live and all that gone crazy with that. I don't understand quite as much as that. Like, I don't know, why would they believe that's a good thing to go viral? Because I think that's the objective when they do that, is to go viral. But why? What's the reason for that? That's a life in your hands right there, and you have just a phone. Like,
yeah,
I don't see
that's no joke, man. I had, like, in the time period that I was lifeguarding, in the seasons that I lifeguarded, I could say that I saved 2 people's lives, where if I weren't there, I think they would be in trouble. Everything else I did was like things that weren't like life-threatening preventative stuff that I did. Like, I had to do a lot over the years of being a lifeguard, but I wouldn't consider them like, had I not done what I did, that they would die. But in two cases, in two incidences, in my whole tenure of doing that, I can honestly say that if I did not do what I did, that would be two people dead. Yep, definitely. Two people dead. Yep.
Yeah, and I bet you would have had footage. you would have saw footage of them down too.
Well, nowadays, yeah, but back then, we ain't, it wasn't no cell phones. It was, I think we had just had pagers.
Yeah,
Ain't nobody paging anything, you know. So
yeah.
that was
Nobody around would know what the procedure and all that to do.
nope. I had to save this girl out the pool, boy. Man, if I wasn't there, she was done. She was done, boy. And a guy. It was two separate incidences.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a shame because the girl incident, she knew how to swim. She was doing laps. And that's the thing. You can know how to swim, but some accident could happen, boy, because she was swimming, she was doing laps. I was closing the pool, I was sweeping, I had put on my pants and everything, and I was just waiting for her to finish so I can close and leave. And she came in at the last minute, wanted to do some laps. Her and her friend came in, she did some laps, and she was Indian, and so she had long hair. All right. And she was kind of, she not kind of, but she was heavy set. She was kind of big. And she wore a shirt because I guess she was ashamed of her body. So she wore a shirt. And normally we tell people to take the shirt off for this very reason that happens. So anyway, she's swimming. She's going from the shallow end to the deep end to the shallow end. She's just doing laps, going back and forth. I'm like, cool. So it gave me a chance to clean up. So I finished cleaning up. I was sitting down, just chilling, waiting for her to finish. And her friend would sit on the side. Her friend didn't get in the water. But then all of a sudden, she stops in the deep end. She stops. She's not making any laps. I'm like, man, okay. And then I thought she was just playing with her friend, like, doing something and just playing with her friend. But then I heard that sound, boy. I'm telling you, if as a parent or any kind of job like that, when somebody's in distress. There's certain sounds that we make as humans that that they're not playing, and that's all it took. I heard that sound, boy. Don't you understand? I had my pants on and everything, but I had on like parachute pants back then, so it was like sweatpants, but the parachute material, whatever. And I had on my aqua socks and everything. But boy, I got up out that seat. I just dove in the water because she was been there for a minute because I thought she was playing. But man, I heard that sound. I dove in the water, and I had to because normally, if anybody who's listening has been a lifeguard, know a lifeguard, the last thing you do is dive in the water to a drowning person. Like, you would think that's the first thing you do, but that's the last thing you do because you're supposed to use the hook and the buoy and the floating devices. You're supposed to use all those things first and stuff because a drowning person will unintentionally drown you.
Right. Yeah. And then that buoy is for the drowning person too, right?
Yeah. All the floating devices is for the drowning person. You're supposed to get them to grab onto it and this, that, and the third, right? But I didn't have any time to do that because I'm at the other end of the pool, sitting down in the long chair, just waiting, just chilling. Forgot what I was doing, and so I had to run. I just dove in because it was too late because she'd been there for a minute. Dove in, got up under her, and I lift her up above the surface. I'm under the water and I'm grabbing her by her armpits, because certain maneuvers that they teach you to do. So I'm grabbing her by her armpits, pushing her up so she can get her head out the water so she could breathe. And I'm underwater. And I remember to this day, I got a scrape on my foot to this very day that my foot scraped the bottom of the pool because I'm trying to stand up, I'm pushing her up and she's heavy set. And so I'm pushing her and I'm bouncing on the bottom of the pool, pushing her more and more to the side so she can grab the side of the pool. And I'm underwater this whole time. From the time I dove in, and I'm doing all of that stuff, like my adrenaline kicked in. I had to be underwater for a long time. In a normal situation, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. But in the heat of the moment and adrenaline, man, it's like I wasn't even thinking about breathing. I was just up under there, you know. But anyway, long story short, she gets to the side and she's okay and stuff. She was choking and everything like that. So I just had to make sure she laid on her side, you know, and cleared the water out and make sure she could breathe and get some nice deep breaths. And once she got deep breaths, I knew she was okay and stuff like that. But so I was asking, I was like, what happened? I'm like, cause you were swimming, you're doing laps. She was like, she said that her hair, a combination of her hair, cause she had real long hair, her hair and her shirt, when she was doing laps, when she was like doing, you know, freestyle strokes, she was doing freestyle strokes, just lapping. And she said she swallowed, like the shirt and her hair just made a bunch of water come in her mouth. And and where she would normally breathe, it was just water.
Yeah,
And
like
so,
she just waterboarded herself.
yeah, exactly. So she just took in a bunch of water, and it was already on an exhale moment. Like you could, you know how you could hold your, you know how you take a deep breath and then
Damn, I
you
know
can
that.
hold your,
Yeah.
you can hold your breath. But you know how if you exhale and then try to hold your breath, man, that's a whole nother thing. And so she swallowed that, she actually breathed in that water on an already deflated lungs, you know, and stuff. So she was out there, man. So anyway, I had to do that, boy, man. And she was rough. And her friend, man, and you know, I'm looking at her friend. Her friend, I don't know, her friend thought the same thing I thought. She thought she was playing or something. But then, you know, at first, and then when I got her out, boy, her friend was right there and everything. And what's interesting, I'm just telling y'all this whole story. This girl that I saved, she went to my high school because I was in high school at the time. I think I was in 12th grade. And she went to my school, and I didn't even know her. I didn't know she went to my school or anything. But boy, I tell you, after I saved her, she saw me at school, and boy, she was thanking me every day. Thank you, thank you for saving me, thank you. I was like, man, because she was gone, man. She would have been gone, boy. Because her friend, I don't think her friend would have got her. Because see, by the time I got to her, she had already been there for me. Because I thought she was playing, but I heard her, that distress sound, and that taught me a lesson. Because even though people could swim, and that's the second time that happened. I mean, it happened before the other incident skipping. People who could swim. I mean, people could swim. Some, you never know, something could happen. You know what I'm saying? So, and she swam good. You catch that water though, I don't care how good of a swimmer you are. You catch that water the wrong way, boy, that's a wrap. Same way as eating. Like, we all know how to eat, right? Then you would think that nobody would ever choke. No, because we're skilled eaters. We've been eating all of our life since baby, but yet we can choke. So ain't no different about swimming. Because you could be a good swimmer, man. You catch a Charlie horse, you in trouble. If you don't know how to tread water, you catch a Charlie horse the wrong way or something, or you swallow some water the wrong way. So anyway, all right, enough of these stories. So any last words, Emmy Cat, Zane? I'm up here just rambling.
No, not really. I mean, it was a really good conversation and pretty much covered everything. So I don't want to go, drag it behind. So I think it was a good conversation, and we definitely need to have more of that.
Okay, but now I'm up here talking about women, and you are a woman, and you've been in here. We ain't hear nothing from you. So let me let me just ask you a question first. So, first of all, if you hear somebody says that a woman's place is in the house and in the kitchen, do you see that as being offensive? Even if you yourself not offended, but do you see that as being an offensive thing to say?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So we're right about that. Now, even though I'm just changing a few words and saying it differently, does this sound better if I say that a woman is vitally important? A woman has a vital and important role in the house and in the kitchen. Does that sound a little better?
Yeah, it's not just a little better. I mean, it is true. So yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. All right. So I'm doing my job. All right. So, but maybe we should. Let me ask you this question: should we change the word kitchen to nutrition and nurturing room?
Oh man, nah. I mean, that's not necessary. That's like you know how they give like the janitor and all these kind of they, you know, prettify the names and all that stuff, but you know, behind everybody knows what it is. So no, I think there's nothing wrong with the word kitchen, and even trying to change it is like saying that, you know, women ain't too bright, you know, because that reminds me of what was it that saying, the whatever, the documentary that you were recommending. What was the name of it again?
The documentary,
Yeah.
The Century of the Self.
Yeah, Censure Yourself. You know, I was watching that, and you know how it's like, you know how you have to manipulate women into buying all this ready-made baking stuff, and then you know, like you know, things like that, where
Yeah.
you have to manipulate the mind to accept something as opposed to just accepting something for what it is. Like there's no need for manipulating the mind in that case, or trying to change the word kitchen. That's how I look at it. Like trying to change it is like trying to be like, okay, well, you know, let's see how we can manipulate the women to accept something. But there's nothing wrong. It should just be accepted. Kitchen is a kitchen. Toilet is a toilet. Bedroom is a bedroom. That's just fact. So you know, you just stay the way they are.
Yeah, and then the way they had they felt like if they contributed the egg into the mixing the cake, then they'll feel
Yeah, that part was really like that part really hard to kind of, you know, how, you know, when you watch it and you know what it means, it's like that's hurtful because it's like, you
yeah.
know, and that's marketing, and that's you know, manipulating the mind. But I mean, it's good sometimes you need to manipulate your mind. We do it ourselves. That's how, you know, you know, we manipulate other people, you manipulate your own mind to you know, to get some job done when you don't want to do something, you know, things like that. So that's okay. But in those aspects, that was kind of like, you know, like you know, when you mix that, then you had the one with the cigarettes and all that stuff, you know, how women can be manipulated or, you know, are used for this branding and marketing things.
Yeah.
So even the word kitchen, I don't think like that's necessary. So that's what I thought first when I heard that. I had that picture in my head. But yeah, no, kitchen is kitchen. Kitchen is cool.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. I see everything is everything. He said. He said. So if a woman say a man should go to work, he's gonna be offended. And then he said, if a thief breaks in and a woman asks him to go check, he gonna be hella offended. And but see, that just goes to show that the male and female of the human species that we all are part of, we do have the preponderance, we have role preponderances, which means that we have a lot of overlapping because we're human. So men and women do a lot of overlapping things, but there are things that are more inclined for the role of females, and then there are things that are inclined to the role of males. Period. And we should accept that, understand it, and accept it, and leverage it. And so what I'm saying is that the woman's role, the very important role that a woman has in the creation of family and nurturing that family, should be emphasized and applauded, and we need to leverage it, you know.
Yeah, but you know, and when you speak about that, you know, even just what we talked about with the baking stuff, well, when we're watching that documentary, and it's a company that needs to sell something, and it's something that obviously you're selling it to women, women cook, women like to bake and all that stuff. But then now you're like, okay, they bake everything from scratch, but here you are, you're trying to make money out of it. So you want to make this ready-made stuff, so that women can just pop stuff into, the oven, and you'll be like, no need to mix all that stuff and know how to mix different ingredients and formulate and whatever. So somebody's trying to make money out of something that some people already know how to do. They don't need it. So then you kind of, find a way, to, okay, we'll make this ready-made formula for you. And then you just mix some water and then you put it in the oven and that's that. But because they know that women will like, okay, when you watch that documentary where the women be like, well, that kind of like starts to diminish their role. Like, so what am I going to do? And, they feel like I'm not doing anything. And it's like, I'm becoming useless. Kind of like how we complain about being, replaced by robots and automated machines everywhere. So that was the case. And then, so to manipulate the mind, they'd be like, okay, put all the ingredients, but then minus the egg. And then we will let the women know, like, they just add the egg into the formula. And then we'll be like, fine. So then the women feel like they're doing something. But in modern times, it's like even just that kind of manipulation happens where it's like women think like, where women are actually made to think like, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, you need, that just needs to be, something else that, is like demeaning for you. In that sense, I think that's how those roles where it's like the things that actually women are good at doing, that kind of gets taken away, the role of, being like the kitchen scientist and the food scientist, because obviously food is everything. Like food runs your whole, is like the oil that runs your whole body, right? So for other people to have access to control what you eat, because obviously, nobody's going to come in and say, let's cook for this household. Let's decide, let's be the one that regulate and decide what each particular household gets to eat. You can't do that until you convince the person that's responsible for that, like they don't need to do that. And so, that's not their role and things like that. So I feel like, that's also like with women, not becoming less and less active in that part of the household is also like a marketing and thing for actually just running, a capitalist world where it's like everybody, like other people get to do stuff where we depend on those kind of food. So everybody now depends on McDonald's, depend on all kinds of restaurants and fast foods. So then there's money to be made as opposed to somebody else just actually making their own food at home. So that also is something that people really do need to think about, because when women step out of that, it's not that they step out and then the men step into that role. It's actually the industries that step into those roles, and then it become like a controlling thing of the masses.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you feel like since the cake is already made, it's ready made now, you feel like men can make a cake just as well as women now, and women can go into like some other roles.
Yeah, that's what it appears to be happening. But then actually it's not even that the men can make the cake now, is that somebody else makes the cake for both the men and the women. So now the role of nutrition is dependent on an outside entity, as opposed to the man or the woman, either way. So it's not in the household anymore, period.
Well, there you have it, from a woman. So, again, just to summarize one more time, in case people fast forward this archive video from the beginning to the end, is that first of all, this is an open discussion, bring your own topic. So I just wanted to go live to kind of change it up a bit from the things that I've been seeing people talk about, and all in the YouTube world and stuff like that. And so I was hoping somebody bring a topic, but the topic that I wanted to bring to the table and discuss, and I want to continue this discussion, because I'm only really touching on the surface of things, is the importance of the vital role that women play in the family structure. I think that should be a topic to discuss as a series of discussions, to like flesh out and unpack all of that good stuff, because I think that the role that women have in the family structure is very, very important. It's vital and important to our progress and survival. And I think that we're underplaying it, we're downplaying it, and so much so that even women are offended by it because it's not even brought up in the right way. That's why I asked Emiket if I were to say that a woman's place, if I say place, a woman's place is in the kitchen, in the house and in the kitchen, that's very offensive, or that'll spark some defense. But if we discuss it in terms of the natural role that women play beyond their choice, you know, in terms of being mothers and nurturers, and how that's extended into the family structure, and how women are the masters of that. They are the actual, you know, owners and masters of that. They should be the scientists behind, the nurturing scientists, be scientific about nurturing. And the one main thing that we all need as a human species is food. And so if women mastered food science or the science of nutrition, then we would progress a whole lot more. We would have more prosperity and more success because we'll be healthier. Because I don't care what you know, what you learn, if your health fails you, you're not going to be able to execute all that knowledge and stuff. And so there's a direct connection between that which is physiological and psychological. And we can get into that, where people's behaviors are a consequence in part and sometimes all with hormones. You know, hormones are chemical instructions in the body. And these hormones, if your hormones are not balanced within your body and they're thrown off, that will cause a cascade of things. Some things physical and some things psychological. It will, you know, change the way people behave, the way people act, how people interact with one another, and so on and so forth. So a lot of things depends on this optimal state of health, this homeostasis, this balance and well-being. And in Kemet, I didn't get to this tonight, but in Kemet, this was understood, where you have these three things that are glued together. I'm going to say these three words that everybody should be familiar with, the way that you hear it. Ankh, Uja, Seneb. Ankh, Uja, Seneb. Ankh meaning life. Uja, as people pronounce it, is prosperity. And Seneb, health. All three of those are intricately tied together to have a for, you know, to live life and prosper, you have to have health. You know, to live, you have to be healthy. To prosper, you have to live, of course, and you have to be healthy. The healthier you are, the more you're going to prosper, and the more you're going to live. You're going to have, you know, a fulfilled, meaningful life. The quality of your life depends on your health. You know, period. And health is not just about being able to function. And we you know, we kind of forget about that too. Health is more than just functioning, because it's physical health, mental health. And I'm just saying that we got to be more scientific about that. And the reason why women comes to mind in this kind of conversation is because of women's natural role that the cards of nature dealt. Women by nature play this role, and they're the best fit for that role. Men are best fit by nature to fulfill the role of a protector, of a defender, because men by nature are stronger than women. Pound for pound, men are built to be stronger, physically stronger than women. By nature, women give birth, men don't. So these are cards that nature dealt out. And so why not leverage it? Leverage it. We have that ability. Leverage it. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna say Shem Hotep. And nobody else has anything to say. So I appreciate everybody tuned in. And I see here I got one dislike. Who's gonna dislike? Must be a person that just heard me say a woman's place is in the kitchen. Like somebody actually thumb down this conversation or this video. That's crazy. Anyway, I think it's 24 people watching. Make sure y'all thumb it up. Y'all outdo the one thumbs down. Thumb up the video. If you like it. If you don't like it, just do nothing. That's what I tell people, because I don't be begging people to thumb up the video, because I mean people like the video, they see the thumbs up there. Like nowadays, we got to remind people to thumb up stuff as much as thumbs up on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and stuff. Like people like it, they gonna thumb it up.
Yeah.
But if you don't like it, don't thumb it down though. Anyway, all right. So I'm gonna try to bring this conversation up again and kind of get more detail. But I want a panel of women though. Right. I want women.
I wanted a panel. Yeah, I wanted to see what more women would say.
Yeah, I want a panel of women to see how they feel about taking a scientific approach to family structure and the role that a woman is best fit to play out of the men and women, and how that's not a demeaning thing. That's actually a very honorable thing, because a woman is really, really responsible for the care of the family. A man, and listen, we have all these sayings that reflect this, but we don't connect them. Like they say, a man, I don't know how the exact saying goes, but a man is only as good as the woman that's next to him and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. A woman was a fastest way to get to a man is through his stomach. All these other kinds of things will hint to us these issues that I'm talking about.
Yeah, even just observation, like when you have even like children, like, I mean, that even when you're young, children are more attached to the mother, because that's the one that they rely on to take care of them for the most part. That's just an innate part. And even if you're looking at animal kingdom, like, I guess it's us humans who have like the will and can decide what to do. But just looking at just how animals interact, with each other, and you see like that the role that the female animals play and all that stuff. It's just a natural part. I guess we just like to, rebel here and there, or sometimes it's also like you said, how it's said, and also knowing history where women have always had it rough, especially some women in different cultures and whatnot. So it plays a part in that, but I don't think anybody can refute that nurturing part and the part of taking care and feeding of the family. That's just like an innate thing that we just observe.
All right. See, they already got jokes, boy. Vyasa and everything is everything. They say we in phase one of my long goodbyes. So listen. With that, I'm gonna say,
I think everything has the best. Like, what was it like? Pujal was like saying his goodbye. Like, so we got another 1.5 hours. Get some tea. Get your drink.
Nah, that's cool. Nah, that's true though. I do have probably the longest goodbye. I got the African goodbye. Y'all know anybody that's like
African goodbye?
No, seriously. If you know people who live or from a African country, man, that's why they say long goodbyes is African goodbye, boy. You know what I mean?
But you haven't that the same way it go when some folk have a conversation, like grown folks be having conversations. They have for goodbye, they have a conversation in the living room, then to the door. Then when they get to the car, And when they about to pull out, that's all phases of the bass right there.
Yep. Hey, they got a meme. I'm gonna find it. I saw this video meme somebody made of just that too. It was funny as all outdoors. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find that. All right, I'm gonna say Shinra Hotel though. We'll have to bring this up again when earlier and when more women are available, because I'm interested in having this conversation, but in more detail. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna say Shinra Hotel. See y'all.
All right,
Appreciate it.
so-